Looksmaxxing, the new phenomenon that's currently everywhere on the internet. If you've been scrolling around on your For You pages, you've probably seen this everywhere. But a lot of people actually don't know the history of where it came from and how it actually started to where it is now currently, and how its origin started serious and satirical and now moving to what a lot of people would describe as borderline degeneracy. In this video, we're going to look at the truth about Looksmaxxing. Subscribe if you haven't already. Well, how did Looksmaxxing begin? It mostly started on forums during the 2010s, with a lot of boards over on 4chan and other sites like Looksmaxxing. Now on these sites, people would technically discuss a bunch of ways they were naturally or unnaturally looksmaxxing. Now if you don't know what looksmaxxing is, let's take a look at a definition. The process of making yourself look better. Now one key thing you need to know about these websites is that a lot of the information on there was heavily guarded. If not heavily guarded, they were mostly being gatekept. Now keep this in mind, because if you don't know what gatekept means, it basically means holding something a secret and protecting it from everyone else. And these people on these forums would go to extensive lengths to try to keep looksmaxxing a secret, up until the point where you couldn't even say the word looksmaxxing without these people coming after you. Take for example in 2023 with TikToker Dylan Latham, who would infiltrate one of these looksmaxxing sites and find out what happens when you leak some of their secrets.
A little bit later. Initially though, what happened is I made a video, and later that night I was actually in a hot tub. In this hot tub, everything was fine, and then I go to check my phone and I noticed my profile picture was like that blank picture. You guys know what I'm talking about? Basically a little human character instead of my actual profile picture. And I was like, this is really weird. How is this even possible? Like, did I get banned or something? What is happening? So this guy that I knew at the time actually knew about Looksmaxxing, and he went onto their website and he said, bro, you're getting leaked and doxxed. So my address, my phone number, all my parents' names, and everything about me got leaked on the internet, including explicit photos of me when I was a minor that I had no idea how they got. And this is how the cops get involved. We're almost so I was and I saw a video of a person standing outside of my house recording themselves, and it got extremely out of hand, so much so that I actually called the cops at my house when I was out of state.
So as you can see, he would leak a lot of Looksmaxxing secrets and get completely doxxed. Location reveal, I'm talking everything. Police involved. And if you were there during that arc, you just knew how serious this was. It was to the point where his account got banned and he couldn't post, just off saying the word looksmaxxing, a term that's so commonly used today, yet back then so gatekept. Now a lot of people would mark this event as one of the main reasons why looksmaxxing went mainstream, because in 2023 we truly saw the first rise of looksmaxxing. This would essentially become popular in two ways: the people who were actually genuinely serious about this stuff, and then the other group of people who saw it as just a satirical form of humor. Now the people who are actually serious in this looksmaxxing space would be creators like Dylan Latham, like I mentioned before, and the godfather of looksmaxxing, people would say, K Shami. Now this guy would mostly focus on natural methods and mostly self-care for men. However, he'd also do a bunch of series that would proceed to go viral all over TikTok, like his series Mogwarts, where he would upgrade people using looksmaxxing techniques, and lots of other tips and tricks. Now the other version of why looksmaxxing would become so popular in 2023 is the fact that it was basically brain rot. We'd get a ton of memes coming out about looksmaxxing. Stuff like the G-Force Mogger, a reverse video of this guy who essentially breathes out looking like he's saying Mog and locking in. But the biggest wave of why looksmaxxing became so popular in 2023 is because of supermodels. All of a sudden, these models who are on the front covers of different magazines, or who were just used to walking out on runways, just became internet celebrities overnight. I'm talking a bunch of looksmaxxing edits, and people obsessing over their facial structure, breaking it down bit by bit. I'm telling you, this was so insane that one of the main guys, Chico Lachowski, did a podcast episode on it, where he decided to say this.
Oh, like the goal here is like just be yourself.
Yeah,
like
you want to mog, go do something good for your community and brag about that.
Yeah.
You want to mog, help someone out at your school that's getting bullied. Do something with that. I'm gonna tell you, it makes you just that much more attractive being a good person.
Yeah, exactly.
It's less about that you have cheekbones or a certain type eye shape.
Now in the video, you see supermodels Sean O'Prye and Chico Lachowski basically talking about how mogging can be seen in the worst light possible. Now at the time, this podcast would actually receive a lot of backlash and criticism, with a lot of people saying that it was essentially two really attractive people telling you that looks don't matter, like their whole career didn't come from that. Whereas a lot of people in support of them would say things how looksmaxxing could become very toxic and how the term mog could be going down a dark path. And honestly, this was a sign for the future, because a lot of the signs that these two guys were talking about, although received a lot of backlash at the time, slowly started to come true now that we're in the big 2026. Now a lot of these supermodels that were being focused on, Chico Lachowski, Sean O'Prye, and Jordan Barrett, along with a bunch of others. But essentially these models would be thrown into this entire different genre of looksmaxxing. And because these models were thrown so much into this whole looksmaxxing sphere, they'd be completely aware of the lingo, with a viral video of Jordan talking about, "You're trying to mug me, but you're not gonna win." Take a look at this clip.
You're trying to mug me, but you're not gonna win.
Alright, bro, appreciate it.
Now, another reason why Looksmaxxing would become very popular but also grow in toxicity is because of the hierarchy system. A lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, cared way too much about this whole hierarchy system. Essentially, this is where the term ascension would come through. Basically, ascending through these different ranks to reach your true Chad form. Now, a lot of people would take this very seriously. And when I'm telling you that there is a whole thought out school of thought for this, I'm not joking. There would be various levels of Looksmaxxing, which essentially start like this: normie, which is supposed to be normal looking; high tier normie, which is higher than normie; Chad light, and then Chad, with Chad being the highest rank, and a separator between one of these two ranks being labeled as a Mog, and a Mog being considered quote unquote better looking. Now, I'm all for jokes and stuff, I get when it's satirical, but it got to a point where a lot of this Looksmaxxing community became very toxic and hyper focused on more Eurocentric features. Basically, if you were black, you were cooked. No joke, this guy on TikTok explains it perfectly. Take a look at this clip.
And if you're black, just know that the Looksmaxxing community is not for you. When I was young, like a teenager, 12, 13, I looked into Looksmaxxing, you know, and it helped me get my skin right, helped me get my hair right. I used to be extremely chubby, helped me lose weight. That's when I got into gym, was around 14, 15. There are definitely benefits to doing your best to look better and improve yourself. But a lot of it can be extremely toxic and black pill and just lame. For example, if you're African, like me, I'm straight up African, or even African American, you have African features like a bigger nose, you know what I'm saying, bigger lips, a stronger jawline. These little black pill clowns are gonna try to tell you that your natural features aren't good enough.
Yeah, bro, essentially a lot of darker skinned individuals would get downplayed a lot in this community, whereas a lot of more Eurocentrically seen features would be praised. And this would lead to the downfall of Looksmaxxing, because in 2025, there was a huge crackdown on Looksmaxxing content. Especially on TikTok, Looksmaxxing accounts were getting banned left, right, and center, and a lot of the videos and terms would be getting flagged. For example, if you go on TikTok and search Looksmaxxing today, you'll be given a little warning message telling you to be confident about yourself and not fall for a bunch of these claims. The way I would break down this Looksmaxxing community as a whole is the bright side of Looksmaxxing and the dark side of Looksmaxxing, aka the natural go to the gym, take care of yourself, get a skincare routine, versus the dark side of Looksmaxxing, the whatever it takes. I'm talking about substances to get to your ascension form. And this is how I would separate the two biggest Looksmaxxing creators currently, because on one side, the bright side, we have K Shami, who's kind of more lesser known now, but was really big when it first started. And then the one everyone's seeing now, which is Clavicular. And a lot of what he says has been going viral right now, and it's very prone to virality. He'll rate people's looks in person and completely grill them, with clips going viral everywhere. But the issue with this is that it's basically whatever it takes. And this is why Looksmaxxing has faced a lot of criticisms, because people are talking about how it's very unhealthy to take all of these injections, to do all of these surgeries, to take all of these drugs just for the sake of quote unquote looking better. And this is the narrative that does get pushed a lot by Clavicular and a lot of the people who are in the movement. But I won't classify as everyone in Looksmaxxing does this, but it is a significant portion that goes viral. People forget that on the internet, the extremes are what goes viral. The people with the most extreme transformations, extreme facial features, the people who are going to the most extreme lengths. And that's the reason why a guy like Clavicular was able to go very viral. People want to see the extremes and what he's doing next. And I'm not even trying to hate on or judge the person, that's just the reality of the situation. See, and the truth of Looksmaxxing is that it's one of the easiest ways to gamify the system. I'm all for the healthy aspect, but I'm not for the coping aspect. Essentially, people will blame everything on the fact that they quote unquote don't look good enough or aren't worth it. They'll tie their self-worth to how good they look. And that's kind of the negative aspect of Looksmaxxing. It's the trap that a lot of people who follow this movement fall into. And in the end, it's never good enough. You're never good looking enough. You never have enough jaw angle. You never have the best orbitals. You never have this or that. And that's why people fall victim to a lot of predatory services, charging them a bunch of money every month because they need to follow a specific regimen or routine to quote unquote look the best. And generally, the truth of the situation is you need to find a way to do this in the healthiest way possible. I'm all for the satirical jokes, I'm all for the meme posts, I'm all for the healthy version of Looksmaxxing. But where Looksmaxxing fails is self-identity. Because if you fall into that toxic side, it's a deep, deep rabbit hole. And honestly, the only way you can fix your true self-identity is to look to Jesus Christ. Because if you put your worth in him, none of this this will actually affect you that much. You'll work on yourself, but you'll know that the real truth is the one in the Bible. And that right there is the truth of Looksmaxxing, where it came from, why it became so popular, its biggest controversies and creators. And honestly, I'm really interested to hear your opinions and takes on this whole Looksmaxxing sphere because it's gone super viral recently. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and follow my other social medias on TikTok and Instagram, both at Hyperstrides. Thank you guys so much for watching. You're the best, and see ya.